If you're trying to decide between Texas and North Carolina, or maybe more specifically between a place like San Antonio and the Charlotte and Lake Norman area, this video is going to be for you. And I think this one's a little different because I'm not coming at this as somebody who just visited both places for a weekend and decided to rank them. I've actually lived in both. I was stationed at Fort Sam back in 2013 for some training, and then I also lived in San Antonio from 2018 to 21. I also sold real estate there, so I got to know the city not just as someone who lived there, but as someone who was helping people figure out where they actually fit. And now I lived here in North Carolina for a few years, so I've had enough time to get past that honeymoon phase and actually experience what day-to-day life feels like here too. And I want to get this out of the way up front. This is not going to be one of those videos where I act like Texas was awful and North Carolina is perfect, because that's not true at all. I love Texas, I really do. I love the food, I love the culture, I love how friendly people are, and I love that identity that a place like San Antonio has. There's just a vibe to it, and you're gonna feel it. It's confident, it's warm, it's proud, it's its own thing. So this video is not about trashing Texas. It's really about the question, why do we love Texas but still chose to live here in Charlotte? And if you're trying to figure out which one fits your life better, I think this video is gonna help. So let's start with the biggest thing. And for me, this really comes down to lifestyle. Not politics, not internet debates, not which state wins in some imaginary bracket, but we're gonna talk about lifestyle because both places have a lot going on for them. Both places have a ton of people moving there. Both places offer a lot of housing options. Both places can be really, really good depending on what kind of life you're trying to build. But they do feel different. San Antonio feels like San Antonio. Charlotte and the Lake Norman area feels more like a mix of things. A little bit city, a little bit suburban, a little bit outdoorsy, and a little bit southern. And really depending on where you land, a little bit of a transplant too. And that difference is gonna matter because if you're somebody who wants a place with really strong cultural identity, a city where you can feel the history and flavor and rhythm of the place almost immediately, I think that San Antonio has the major edge there. I mean, even just day-to-day life in Texas felt different to me. It was running to HEB for last-minute stuff. It was getting stuck in traffic on 410. It was heading into the city for a Spurs game or checking out the San Antonio Missions. It was better Mexican food, better barbecue too, in my opinion. And yes, I know I live in North Carolina now, but I'm still saying it. Texas barbecue wins for me personally. That's actually why I was actually so happy to find Big Tiny's in Mooresville, because it scratched that Texas style barbecue itch a little bit for me, right? But in San Antonio, that stuff is just built into everyday life, and that's one thing I do really miss about Texas. Now on the North Carolina side, and really on the Charlotte and Lake Norman side specifically, what you get is more variety in how you live. That's probably the biggest reason we chose this area. Here I've got access to the lake, I've got access to the mountains, I've got access to the beach, and maybe more importantly for me, I'm not stuck inside all summer. That was one that really started to wear on me in Texas. At first, the weather sounds amazing. Warm weather, sunshine, mild winters, and for a while, it was great. But those long summers can really wear you down. You start planning your whole life around the heat. You start thinking about what time of day you can go outside. You start realizing that even if it's technically sunny and beautiful, you may not actually want to be out in it for long stretches. Here in the Charlotte area and around Lake Norman, I just feel like I can breathe a little more through the year, right? You get 4 seasons, and I know some of you are probably laughing because North Carolina weather can be all over the place too. Trust me, I know. This is a place where you can get 75-degree weather and then a major snowstorm within a few weeks of each other in the winter. So it's not like the weather here is always perfectly predictable either, but I will take that variety every day, right? Because it makes the year feel different. It gives you a spring, it gives you a real fall, it gives you days where you want to be outside, and it gives you a break from some of the same seasons over and over and over again. And for me personally, that has mattered a lot more than I had expected. Another thing I want to touch base on here is housing, because this is where a lot of people start the conversation. And if I'm being honest, Texas absolutely has a strong argument here as well. In San Antonio, you do tend to get more house for your money, especially when you compare it to being close to Charlotte or close to the lake where prices can jump pretty fast. Now, I do think both markets are actually similar in one important way. In both places, the closer you are to whatever center that you're trying to be in, where everyone else wants to be, the more you're gonna pay, right? In Charlotte, that could mean closer to uptown or closer to the lake. In San Antonio, that could mean closer to the city core or certain desirable pockets. And then as you move further out, you tend to get more value, right? So the dynamic is similar, but I would still say that your money tends to stretch further in Texas. And that's just been my lived experience. You can also find a huge variety of homes in both places: old homes, brand new construction, master plan communities, more established neighborhoods, and even a lot of the same builders are in both markets as well. So this isn't one of those situations where one place is all new construction and the other one isn't. They both give you options, but But if pure square footage is your main love language, then Texas is going to be hard to ignore. Now, the flip side here is taxes. Texas having no state income tax sounds great, and it is definitely a real benefit, but the property taxes there can be rough. So even North Carolina may not win the headline battle there, it's not always as simple as saying Texas is automatically cheaper across the board. What matters more is how your budget actually works in the specific area and neighborhood that you're considering. All right, let's talk about food, because I can't make this video and pretend this doesn't matter, all right? San Antonio wins. For me, it's not close either. The food is better in San Antonio, 10 out of 10. Especially the Mexican food, and honestly, that really shouldn't surprise anybody either. That's definitely one of the things I miss the most. I'd say culturally, food is part of what makes Texas, Texas, and especially San Antonio feels so alive. You feel the influence, you taste it, it's everywhere. Now here in the Charlotte and Lake Norman area, can you find good food? Absolutely, you can definitely find good food. You could find good barbecue too. Can you find good spots if you know where to look? Definitely. But to me, it doesn't hit the same as it did in San Antonio. And I think that ties into something a little deeper. When I lived in San Antonio, I felt a stronger cultural identity in day-to-day life. Here, at least in my experience, especially where I do live, I don't feel that same cultural influence in quite the same way. And that doesn't mean that this area is bad, it just makes it different. Charlotte and Lake Norman are more about lifestyle, convenience, access, recreation, and variety. San Antonio, to me, has more cultural weight to it on a day-to-day basis, and for some people, that alone is going to make Texas a better fit. Now let's talk traffic, because no comparison video is going to be complete without it. And yes, both places will humble you. In Texas, I dealt with 410 and 1604, so I'm not going to sit here and act like San Antonio traffic was some hidden secret paradise, because it wasn't. But here, if you live around Charlotte or Lake Norman, you already know. I-77 can absolutely test your patience, especially during rush hour. And the toll lanes just make it feel even more personal. So if you are comparing the two and you're hoping one of them is magically traffic-free, I've got some bad news. But the type of frustration is a little different. In Texas, it felt like big city traffic. In this area, it can feel like the infrastructure is constantly trying to catch up with how many people actually do want to live here. And depending on where you live and where you work, that may matter a lot. If you're commuting regularly into Charlotte from the north side, that needs to be part of your decision. And real quick, I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, please consider liking and subscribing, as I do make 2 videos twice a week, every week, on what it's like to move to or live in the Charlotte and Lake Norman area of North Carolina. And as much as I do love making these videos, I am a licensed real estate broker here. So if you have any needs, I'd love to help. But with that being said, let's get back into the video. Now here's the part that probably matters most. Why did we choose North Carolina anyways? All right, for us, it was the total package. It was middle ground for family. It was access to the mountains. It was access to the Outer Banks. It was the fact that I could be near the lake and still have Charlotte right there. It was the idea that life could be a little more balanced throughout the year. And I think that's the word I keep coming back to with this area, balance. Charlotte and Lake Norman don't beat San Antonio in every category, and not even close. But for our life, it offered the right mix of things. A strong job market, different housing options, access to recreation, a little more breathing room in the calendar because you're not just surviving one endless summer. And it was a location that made sense for our family too. Now, it doesn't mean that would be the right choice for everybody, but it was the right choice for us. And I think that's what so many people miss when they're comparing places online. They want a winner, but the real question is not which state wins. The real question is which state is going to fit your lifestyle. So here's my honest take. If you are somebody who wants stronger cultural identity, incredible food, bigger house for the money, a city with real flavor, and you don't mind summers, Texas may absolutely be the best fit for you, especially a place like San Antonio. But if you want more seasonal variety, easier access to different kinds of recreation, a balance of city and outdoors, and places like Charlotte and Lake Norman where you can build a lifestyle around variety, North Carolina may fit you better. And I think that's especially true if you're the kind of person who wants options. We've got lake days, mountain weekends, trips to the beach, suburban neighborhoods, city conveniences, and this all is a great mix of what this area does really, really well. And that's what pulled us here. Not because Texas failed us, but because this fit is just a little bit better for our lives. And honestly, that's how I try to help people when they reach out to me. I'm not here to force Charlotte or Lake Norman on somebody if it's not really what they want. I'd rather help you figure out what kind of area, lifestyle, and home actually fits you best, rather than try to sell you on the wrong move. Because this area can absolutely be amazing for the right person, but I also think that the right move starts with honesty. And if you are comparing Charlotte, Lake Norman, and maybe even somewhere like San Antonio, Texas, that's exactly how I'd approach it. What do you value the most? Do you want space? Do you want a stronger culture? Do you want better food? Do you want 4 seasons? Do you want to be near the lake? Do you want easier access to the mountains and beach trips? Do you want your money to stretch farther? These are going to be questions that are going to matter, because once you answer those, the right place usually starts to become a little more clear. So if you are thinking about moving to Charlotte, Lake Norman, or anywhere in this area, and you want somebody who's going to give you the honest truth about what fits and what doesn't, that's what my channel is all about. And as much as I love making these videos, I am also a licensed real estate broker here in North Carolina. And that number on the screen, that is my real number. I answer the calls, the texts, all the emails. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days from now, or even if you're just trying to figure out whether this area actually makes sense for your life compared to somewhere like Texas, reach out. And if you are still in that research phase, you can scan the QR code that you see on screen. That'll get you to my Charlotte relocation guide. A lot of people have told me that it has helped them get more clarity before they've ever even reached out to me. All right. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one.